Hello, welcome to Duncan Digs Gardening. Unsurprisingly, it's another grey, wet, cold, windy day in the UK, but that's not going to stop me from talking about a very prescient subject as we look ahead to the rest of the spring and decide what we want the garden to look like. And that, of course, is roses. And February is a perfect time to prune a lot of roses. Not all of them, I should point out, but the ones that I'm going to be tackling today are generally considered to be kind of the bush style, floribunda, hybrid tea, slightly smaller ones, the patio roses as a lot of people know them. And although it doesn't look much, this is my favourite rose. It's called Nostalgia, and it flowered it flowered 2 or 3 times last year, I think, due to the hot summer that we had. And it's now time to take stock of the structure of the plant, because it's a perfect time to assess eventually what shape you want it to be. And a lot of the general considerations around this are around the 3 Ds: dead, diseased, and dead, diseased, and dying, and crossing branches. That's another one. And effectively, you want to promote a kind of goblet-shaped structure to a rose like this. Not least of which because roses are prone to all sorts of pests, black fly, things like that, green fly, caterpillars even. I had a terrible problem with caterpillars last year, I think due to the warm spring that we had. So it's about promoting that shape, promoting healthy growth, cutting out dead, diseased, or dying branches, and we've got a few good examples here which we'll focus on in a minute. But ultimately that's what you're trying to do. The better space that you have in the center of the plant, the more airflow you're going to get. The more airflow you get, the less chance you're going to get a build-up of moisture, of damp, mildew, things like that. So it's crucial that you try and promote the framework while you have a chance now, before it starts to come into leaf. And whether you can necessarily make it out, but we've got kind of plenty of shoots and things here, and this is the signal, really, especially now that we're into February. This is the signal that it's the prime time to start cutting. So obviously it goes without saying that I don't want to be stabbed to death, so I'm going to pop these on, and we're going to go around the garden and do a few examples today, because you treat some of them ever so slightly differently. We've got climbing roses as well, which I want to tie in to a framework which I've created. But we'll start with this Nostalgia. And for those of you who aren't familiar, I'll obviously throw a photo up on the video, but essentially it's a lovely red with a cream centre to it. Beautiful big flowers, and as I say, the warm summer that we had last year, it reflowered about twice, which is it's pretty good. So it seems obvious, but the sharper the better, the cleaner the better. You don't want to introduce disease, viruses, or anything like that. You don't want to promote bad conditions, especially because you're effectively creating an open wound with the plant. So nice and sharp, nice and clean pair of secateurs, and yeah, let's zoom in and go through some of the different things you need to consider. Yes. Now, if you're serious about maintaining sharp tools, obviously, and why wouldn't you be? I can highly recommend something like this, which is just a sharpening device. The crows approve, obviously, and I'm just going to sharpen the blades like that. Very, very straightforward. Run them over a few times, and then we're ready. So, the first thing I think to notice, of course, is that we've got these kind of dead bits here, and when you're thinking about where to cut, the easiest bit is to look for a notch. It's called a node, but you look for a node or a notch, Plenty along these branches here, and you always just cut slightly above. And the only reason for that is, of course, that you cut it above and you'll get leaf and new growth coming out of the node. You don't want to chop below it. Chances are what would then happen is that full portion all the way down to the next node would potentially die out. So the key there is to just always just cut above the node. We're going to find a few things here. So a good example is this chap here, which looks pretty dead. Now it's a bit tricky, but essentially just try and get in as to the angle that you want without necessarily trying to find anything else. Take it out like that. Something on the end here as well. We'll take that back off there. Don't worry if you can't necessarily see this. There's a completely dead bit right at the bottom here, so I'm going to take that right off where it's died, and you probably can't see very well, but once that's off, that's kind of what we're left with. That wants to come off completely, so let's throw that. We've got another one at the front here, so I'm going to just take that off like that, and its little friend, take that off as well. Again, completely dead. It's going to do nothing but promote disease. Another one here, I'm going to take that off as well. Okay, and then one here on the end, and take that off as well. I think we're pretty much okay now for dead, disease, dying aspects of the plant. What we now want to look at are crossing branches. And this is simply because in high winds, especially when the branches are larger, you're going to get the effect that they effectively rub up against each other. And so you want to try and avoid that, because you're going to potentially open a wound in the plant which disease is going to get into. And as I said before, you want to create this goblet style shape. So we don't really want branches crossing, especially not in the middle. So we can see one here that's just crossing, that's going to cross across this main stem. So I'm going to take that off completely, this little one, even though it's got a lot of buds on it. I'm going to take that right down to its base, like that. And can we see anywhere else where potentially we've got crossing branches? This one is okay, but I'm not quite sure necessarily. We've got a node that's sticking out here. Could these intersect as they grow? There's a potential. So I'm going to take that off as well, just to be on the safe side. Take that out. There we go. And then I think we're pretty much okay. So it probably just leaves us now to think about, do we want to reduce the size of the plants? Obviously it's in a pot, this one, and I'll give it a feed in the spring. Does it want it to be any smaller? Do we want it to be bushier? The more you kind of hack at it, the more you take it down, the more you're going to promote side shoots, and it's going to effectively be bushier. But we've got a fairly decent frame now. Just spotted another dead bit at the bottom, so we'll have that off. So I'm thinking maybe we'll just take it off slightly at the top here, above this node, like that. We'll take this one off here. We'll take this one off here. This is a pretty strong stem, but I'm a little concerned that it's just going to go really tall and really thin and leggy, and that's what we kind of don't want. So you can see a node here. I'm going to take that off like that. Oh, there we go. You could go mad with this, but you don't really want to necessarily, but I'm going to just take that in a little bit more. Okay, so there's our casualties of the prune. Then go on a compost heap. Apart from that, I think this one's done. What do you think? Now this one is called the Fairy. No laughing at the back. And unlike our Nostalgia, it's a smaller plant, far more branches, a lot smaller flowers, which you can see, most of which have succumbed to the cold weather. And this chap, let's take out these old supports. This chap was flowering in January, which I found absolutely incredible. So much so that I contacted David Austin and said, what kind of witchcraft is this? But it was a beautiful rose, and it's not immune to needing a cut back. As you can see, there's a lot of old stuff on here, and if we were to just leave this, it would carry on growing. You can see there's plenty of new growth throughout the plant, but we want to kind of, for want of a better word, scalp it, to be honest, and it'll be absolutely fine. So I'm just going to follow each of the main branches back about probably at least 2/3 of the way down. I'm going to find a node and I'm just going to take them off. So methodically working my way through. It doesn't really, don't worry too much if you're thinking, oh, I'm being a bit harsh, I'm being a bit OTT with it. It will be absolutely fine. They're incredibly resilient plants, and they can take a lot of what you throw at them. So I'm just repeating this, going all the way around, taking it in each branch above a node, as I said before. And it's going to look a bit sorry for itself when we're done, but that's okay. As Arnie once said, he'll be back. And again, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to eliminate some of the stuff at the centre, as we want to try and promote good airflow. I can already see some candidates for the 3 Ds that need to be cut out. Think about this one there, I think, and then there we go. Okay, so we've got a bit more of an easier framework to work with. We can see there's potentially a few crossing branches right in the centre, so I'm actually going to take that out. It's quite difficult to get to because there's a few new shoots, but we'll get that out. We've got this on the end. I'm going to take that out. That's dead. Let's have that. Another one here. Take that out. Like that. Another one on the end here. Take that out. Right, we're back after a microphone error. Never let it be said that I have the first clue about what I'm doing. I'm just going to carry on taking out these dead bits from the centre of the plant, but effectively it's no different from Nostalgia in that we're taking out and promoting growth that is as disease-free as possible. There we go. There we go. That's not too bad. It's unlike Nostalgia though, it can be quite a gnarled looking plant. So again, we've got quite a few cross branches here, and it's a little bit finer, but I think I'm fairly pleased with that. Take some of these leaves off and take this one out here. So what we've been left with, again, nice open framework. Most of the dead, diseased, dying stuff cut out wherever possible, and crossing branches mostly eliminated. So this chap is a climbing rose. I don't know the name because I got it from a supermarket. That's about as honest as I can be about this one. It's red. So we'll call it red for now. And this was last year was the first year I put the plant in, so it was very, very young. And this is the only leading shoot that we've got at the moment. We can see there's a few other smaller ones appearing there. So what I did was I placed some metal wire across the wall at different levels with hooks that I hammered into the walls in the softer part of the wall. These will act like a support framework for the plant effectively. Now the most important thing is for the cat to interfere in your filming, but that's fine. The most important thing with this is when you're going to tie these things in, you do so with string rather than twine. Twine is great for certain types of support, canes, things like that, but ultimately you don't want it rubbing against the plant any more than is necessary. You don't want it cutting into the stem. So I have something I prepared earlier, of course, ball of string. Now what you want to do is tie it in a horizontal fashion as much as you can, and that's because you want the shoots to come out from the plant and grow upwards, because then the flowers will appear on those shoots. If you just tie it straight, you'll get an odd horizontal flowering. So you want to try and tie it in wherever possible to be horizontal. I'm just going to tie this in here like this. With a simple knot, not too tight. There we go. And probably then we'll take another cut of string like that, and I'm going to tie it in a little bit further along here, sort of like that, and we'll see how that goes. There we go. Okay. We've obviously got the framework ready for when it grows taller. We've got one here, we've got one here. I have a similar rose further down called the Pilgrim, which is a lovely creamy white one. So we'll see how they both fare. But for now, I'm just content to tie that in like that and see what happens.